Ciao a tutti, siamo qui a Torino a registrare un'intervista con Jack Carpenter. Stasera è qua appunto al Circolo Amici della Magia dove terrà una conferenza. Mr. Carpenter, nice to meet you. How you met magic when you were young and why or when you choose card magic or gambling stuff?
Well, it's a good question because my first inkling that I wanted to do card magic and gambling in particular was when I was very young, maybe 11 or 12, somewhere in there. My mother told me a story about a card hustler that she met down in Biloxi, Mississippi. And she, told me all these stories of how incredibly skilled he was. He could deal cards from anywhere in the pack. So I was just enthralled with the idea of it, and especially when you're a kid and you see your mother so amazed and have such a strong memory of this. I just resolved to find out how to do it, and it went from there. And a story from my mother. Of course, later I put things together in what she described because she had quite a bit of detail of it too. Yeah. And I realized that what he was doing was probably just pretty standard card tricks, the Marlowe Gardner poker deal, a la Lorraine's poker deal, and things like that. But it really got me going. The imagination of the whole thing.
As Dave Vernon did research about gambler cheaters, did you had someone you try to track down or a myth that you looked for?
Well, as a kid, I was in Connecticut. I grew up in the East Coast, and my main source, just like probably a lot of us, was books.
Okay.
And we'd see people occasionally on TV, and you'd get these short glimpses of them. It wasn't like today where you could just type in someone's name and see everything that they ever did on YouTube or so John Scarne was just a big influence on me. I read all his books and I was obsessed with I believed every word too, by the way. I don't know if you've read a lot of Scarne's material, The Odds Against Me, his autobiography. So I think I kind of modeled myself after John Scarne. As a young man, I wanted to be John Scarne, the world's greatest card manipulator, gambling authority, and which today I'm neither, but it was my start. And
did you ever met him or?
I never met him. A friend of mine, Steve Ehlers, and I, we were both young in the Air Force, probably 19 or 20, we wrote him a letter. I think we probably wrote him a couple letters, and who knows whether I'm sure he received them. He was still alive at the time. It was in the 70s. And no, I never got a response from him. I did this as a kid would do, just write everything. All these enthralling things. How inspired we were by him. But no response.
You mentioned YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and as a giveaway, we are giving Scarne on Card Tricks to our viewers. Yes,
a great book.
A great book.
It's absolutely is packed full, and professionals would do well to go back and revisit that book. There is so much in there from Francis Carlyle, Frederick Browley, Jimmy Grippo.
Vernon, everyone, I think.
Yes.
Everyone.
And Scarne did a great job of, that was one of my childhood treasures myself. So that's a great thing you're doing. Can you send me one free?
You have to leave the comment. So about YouTube, you have a YouTube channel. You publish a lot of stuff on YouTube channel. Before, to learn magic, you could just find books, meet someone, and get the information. Then they started the VHS tapes, the videos, the DVDs. Now there is internet. What do you think about magic and internet? Has internet changed the magic, or?
I think it's definitely changed the speed and the rapidity with which a young guy can gather knowledge. When I was a kid, and people my age, and I kind of look at this as an advantage. You had to hunt down material, and the result of the way it was, we would study these books and material for hours at a time, and months, even years, before we fully absorb it. And the end result is you'll meet a lot of guys my age At the time, you literally had these books memorized, whether you're talking about expert at the card table. So the young guys today, they miss out on that because there's such a deluge of information today. It's overwhelming, I think. I'm careful to not do the old guy syndrome where everything new is bad, because that's not true. Despite the proliferation of a lot of bad magic because of YouTube, I still run into young guys that inspire me, and I would love to learn from. So,
Yes.
so the idea that the internet is destroying the quality, not true. It's just that with such informational overload, you're going to see a lot more bad too. Before, I think
you have difficulty to understand what is good, what is bad, and
that would be a problem. That's a good point.
magic relies on secret, so many secrets exposed on.
Not worried about it, because Harry Lorraine many years ago in one of his books gave an example of the idea of exposure, and what he said was absolutely true. You could teach a layman every move of a 3 cups and ball routine, for example. Just say, I'll teach him everything, and immediately following that, you could do a performance of it and fool the pants off him. And the people retaining the knowledge, or making any attempt to do so, a real attempt, are people interested in magic. So exposure has never, to this day, I myself am fooled by things that are in my books. And people have shown me just the other day, a young card man, Lawrence, I met in Zurich, and he had this beautiful little it's a trick where the card case opens itself. It's fantastic. I had never seen it. Of course, it's sitting in one of my books, Steve Beam's Semi-Automatic Cartridge, I think volume 9. And so, again, nothing to worry. It's not going to damage.
Also, there are many stuff that the best idea is to try to rediscover the classics, to try to rediscover.
Oh, there's so much that.
Maybe watch YouTube and don't do what you see on the YouTube.
Yeah, the books are better because you have to interpret it as your being and your soul perceives it as you read it. You're learning the technical things, and that's all the same. But the way you present it, that all comes out of you when you use a book. So I still today recommend books to young magicians and older. It doesn't really matter, any age. The book is the way to go.
Which is the best setup for a card magic performance?
I'm speaking only for myself. What I do is close-up card work with a serious bent towards the gambling persona. That's my persona, that I'm knowledgeable and expert at the card table with cheating techniques. And even when I do card tricks, that slant on the effect is always there. So for me, I like, and I've always worked with an ordinary pack of playing cards, no gimmicks. And I wish I could give you some, great altruistic reason I'm doing it. Primarily, I'm very lazy. I like to just carry that deck of cards with me everywhere I go and be ready at any time to do a performance, a good quality performance with what's in my pocket with that deck, or a deck that someone hands me. And so another pet peeve of mine is everything I do that I develop for performance is always angle-proof. In other words, I work surrounded. I've never been in a real-world environment. If you're working in bars, cocktail parties, even in restaurants where people can get up and gather around, virtually any venue for close-up card work, you can't restrict the audience. There's nothing worse than saying, okay, I'm going to show you this.
Stay there, yeah.
Now you stand here, everybody get in line. So though I love a lot of this magic with lapping and some incredible things, I think that's great for stage performance, platform, contests. But in the real world, I've got people on this side, here, behind me, and what inspired me to do that was John Scarne. I remember seeing him on this is a great scam too. He was on a show called the Virginia Graham Show, talk show, and he had 3 guests with him at the card table, and to have extra security and proof that he could do these amazing things surrounded. He had a big mirror, a turned down mirror behind him, which is great. It was great theater, And no one ever looked in it. And even if they did, they'd see the back of John's head.
Yeah.
So,
beautiful idea.
Great idea.
Yeah.
So I really, at an early age, I realized the power of making a point that, look, I do this surrounded and close up. So for me, myself, I like, but the price is you're paying, my best work is done for smaller groups, when there, say 20 people gathered around. We can do 50 if people sit down in the front, others stand up in the back. Then it gets problematic and without tiered seating. So that's one of the prices you pay to do close-up card work. I do not like when you see a card man doing a close-up set for 500 people.
With a big screen
With
behind.
a big screen, it's not good. It's not the same. You might as well be watching it on YouTube, in my opinion. So that's what I have to say.
Some
about
of
that.
the energy, will be lost.
It's all gone. It's not the real. We have to decide if we're close-up men.
We work close up.
We do close-up.
Yeah.
We can't have our cake and eat it too. And nothing worse than seeing someone do an ambitious card routine on a stage. I just sit there and say, well, the audience doesn't even see the identity of these cards, let alone the other card. You see it all the time now today. And I don't know.
Recently you published a DVD called Rubikulous.
Well, I'm definitely not an authority on the Rubik's Cube. Let's get that straight. It was actually last year. What got me interested is I was at a lecture, a Karl Hein lecture in Dallas, and he does, as you probably know, he does some great stuff with the Rubik's Cube.
CubeFX.
CubeFX.
And his friend George, oh my goodness, I forgot his. You can put it at the bottom.
Yeah.
And of course, and then he did a lecture, and he had DVDs for sale. And I asked Carl, I said, Carl, do you think an old guy like me could learn this stuff? He says, well, you got to learn how to solve it. And it takes a lot of repetition, practice. And I said, that's the only thing I do well is repetition. That's my bread and butter. So I took a shot at it, got the DVDs, and there's great stuff there. Some of it very technically challenging. And then later in the course, I saw some of Steve Brundage's that work.
An American Got Talents made
yes, he's the one we owe this whole recent, familiarity with the public. You constantly have people. This is how I know it's good. Layman will say, can you see that guy with the Rubik's Cube? And I said, well, there it is. And the Rubik's Cube is, whether from age 8 to 80, people are familiar and understand the implications of the thing.
The difficulty.
They understand that the impossibility of the thing, to solve it. And then you combine a magical to solve with that. So anyway, that's where it goes. And now in the course of that, I'm a card man, not a Rubik's Cube guy. So I learned how to do as Carl recommended, learn the basic solve, because you have to learn how to basically solve it in a beginner's method. And I then moved on to a more advanced method to solve it quicker, but I'm not a speed cuber. And I'm a card man. So just actually through iteration, just endless repetition, I kept playing with different false shuffles that would give me a look, always presents a thoroughly mixed cube to the audience, and just by trial and error. And I wanted a simple solve where instead of, because typically the better ones have 4 moves you have to do to solve it secretly, and I only have 2 secret moves.
Yeah.
So I could do it for you here now. I won't explain it, but you'll see that it's a card. I personally believe it to be the easiest version available, because it was invented by a guy who does not Rubik's Cube. Okay, so anyway, the Rubik's Cubes are a lot like life. You get in trouble, things get complicated, and as human beings, our first instinct, of course, is to right away try to solve them, try to fix it. You know how that goes, whatever the problem is, and then in reality, we just make things worse, as you can see in this case. Sometimes it's best just to let go and let God solve the situation, and you stay out of it. So that's the basic thing, and it's just 2 moves, and yeah, I like it, and everybody I show it to, but many of the people interested, they already are Rubik's Cube people. They have their own methods, but it's generated a lot of interest. I have to admit that. So I didn't take all your time up with the Rubik's Cube.
Okay, Jack, thank you for your time. You're very kind, and see you later.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored.
Bye.
knows that the primary objective of a card cheat, all card cheats, is to get the best hand.
Sapete che l'obiettivo per qualunque baro è avere una buona mano.
The difficulty comes when trying to decide how to find the cards
La
that are
parte,
going to get you the money.
la parte difficile è decidere quali carte ti
And one
possono
method I
far
like
vincere i
is
soldi.
like this.
E lui utilizza questo metodo.
Yeah.